Close the door, please. You all right? All right, shalom, peace, peace, peace. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Tonight's message, Aman, shalom, peace, peace, peace. We give our honor and praise to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, those who are in the Northeast region and those who are in the UK and who joined us this evening for our early riser, or not early riser. We did early riser Bible study session earlier today. That was under Minister Tamara. Thank you, Minister Tamara. Thank you, everybody who was on our Northeast regional meeting this evening. And as we continue to try and do these regional meetings throughout the weeks, up and coming weeks. So we're thankful and grateful to everyone. And hopefully everybody is doing well wherever you are. And keep us in prayer. Keep me in prayer. Got a quick, well, so-called, relatively speaking, quick traveling to do tomorrow or today, and we'll be traveling back and forth, at least for a little bit. But prayerfully, all of you are doing well. How you doing, Beck? And I apologize to you and Brother Dwayne when you guys tried to call back. I was actually in the middle of some of our stuff that we were doing for SOC, so I apologize. But hopefully, you guys reach your destination safe. How you doing, Minister Stephen? How you doing, Sister Knight? How you doing, Cole? How you doing, Sister Monica? How you doing, Sister Nadine? How you doing, Minister Tamara, Darius? Lottie, Dottie, and everybody, Brother Omar on. How's everybody doing? Appreciate you. K1 and only, Joseph, Brenda, everybody. Sister Sylvia, we appreciate you. We appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much for being on. So kind of sort of continuing what we did this rising for this evening. We're going to really continue tomorrow. But there was a point that I brought up, and it was really from a video that kind of had a little bit of whatever going on, and a little bit of frustration going on, and wanted to kind of unpack it a little bit. Not going to be in before you too long, because I actually am in the midst of filling out our t-shirt / bars of soap orders and all that stuff, and trying to make sure we get the last bit of donations and all that in, and trying to get through. Praise Yahweh, taught extremely well, and we praise Yahweh for her as always, right? So going to kind of continue a little bit. It's going to kind of be an in-between today and tomorrow thing. And but I wanted to kind of fix something up and kind of show persons what was meant by a post that I put a couple days ago, maybe 3 days ago at this point, I'm not sure. So there's a quote that I was talking about, and I'm going to read it. Right? It's by someone named Zora Neale Hurston. Zora, Z-O-R-A, Neale, N-E-L-E, Hurston, H-U-R-S-T-O-N. How you doing, Brother Big? Zora Neale Hurston. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? So this, we talked about this a little bit earlier today. We kind of had a little bit of whatever happened a little bit even within our own community, where we were talking about this on one of the posts that I did. And I was talking about how Black women, right, are considered to be the mules of the earth. But this is a quote given by Zora Neale Hurston, right? And I just want to explain a little bit about this quote, right? Harlem Renaissance writer, amen, right? So, so Black women are the mules of the earth is a quote from Zora Neale Hurston, who spoke through the heroine Janie Crawford in her book, in her 1937 book, Their Eyes, and I'm just quoting the name of the book, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Okay. It says, I began to grapple with the imagery that statement elicited, whether I should interpret it as praise for our strength or a derogating description that is symbolic of victimization and bondage. Right? African Americans are faced with the psychological challenge of reconciling with an African heritage and an European upbringing and education, thus bringing about a multifaceted conception of self. W.E. Du Bois, he would have wanted to be called Du Bois, right? Called this double consciousness, which is a sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of another. Based in popular culture, the Black female iconography has been the saviors, cooks, cleaners, caretakers of their children and other people's children, the ones responsible for making things better that we didn't mess up in the first place, the sex objects, superheroes, and magical Negro, the ones that are everything to everyone while operating under a public gaze that has constructed this superhuman stereotype. Without being conscious of it, our culture's imagination is eager to distort Black women and dehumanize us. Wow, a lot in there, right? Now you hear somebody make this statement, and we might even have to post something about this tomorrow to go any deeper into it, right? Because I don't think persons recognize what that statement, how deep that statement is, right? Jamie Crawford, when she's saying this, or I'm sorry, Jamie Crawford is the heroine in the book, is the protagonist in the book. But Zora Neale Hurston is the one who writes this, and she even says when this came out of her pen, when she penned this, saying, "How you doing, Jared? How you doing, Springtime? How you doing, Just Miracle?" She said when she penned this was something that she didn't know. Should I look at this as positive or negative? She said, should this be something where it's showing that we as Black women are expected to cause things to further to grow, to mature, and that nothing really is moving without us putting our stamp of approval on it? Or could we look at it from the negative side and look at it as, hey, we gonna catch the flack for it. We got to be stressed out. Our brothers aren't gonna really support us in it. All these different things, right? So when she said it, she said even when she looked at it on her paper, when she looked at it in the book at first, when she first wrote it, she realized this is a positive statement, but also it's problematic. It shows two sides of the same coin, right? Going into what W.E.B. Du Bois would call double consciousness, what some of us would call cognitive dissonance, what some of us might even call being double-minded. How you doing, Sister Omika? You see, so when she makes a statement that the Black woman, right, is the mule, right? When the Black woman is the mule, right? You got to think to yourself, even, what is a mule? Right, by definition. What makes a mule? A mule is what? See, this is even some Willie Lynch stuff, if you recognize what's being written. What is a mule? A mule is what? It's not even a normalcy, right? A mule comes from two different things being put together in something that is now performing a task, right? So basically, a mule is a mix between what? A mule is a mix between a mule is a mix between a horse, right? Am I saying it right there? A horse and a donkey, right? Am I correct in that? A mule, I believe. I hope so. I think I'm correct on that, right? But a mule is not a normal animal. How you doing, Minister Yasav, and how you doing, Sister Crystal? Right? How you doing, Sister Sabrea? So a mule is not a normal animal. How you doing, Sister Sylvia? We don't expect mules to just come naturally. Mules come to when the mama, if you will, the female and the male are put in a situation that they don't belong in. They're tamed and they're put in a position that normally they wouldn't. You would almost never ever see in their culture, which we would call the wild, right? That in of itself speaks volumes, because if you're going to say that she is the mule is something that is only born and necessary because where they come from, the male and female, the lanes that they come in, the culture that they carry are dismissed, and they're having to try and figure out a way of keeping themselves going, right? And oftentimes, now let me look this up just to be sure, because oftentimes when animals mix like that, whether you're talking about the liger or you're talking about different animals like that, where they mix and put animals together, normally, or the zonkey, etc., they normally can't have babies outside of the two that you mix together. Now let me see, can a mule reproduce? Let me see, can a mule? They dancing around the question. Give me the answer. Okay, so yeah, so mules can be male or female, but they cannot reproduce. Right. Sometimes, very rarely, when they mix these breeds, can the breeds actually continue to have babies after the fact. Right. But so yeah, so when you're looking at this, at these different things that are there, these mules cannot even reproduce. And in the Willie Lynch letter, they're sterile. Amen. And in the Willie Lynch letter, he even says that if you take the stallion and you breed them together with the donkey, with the jackass, and then it says that you get a, what do you get? You get a stubborn, and I'm just quoting Willie Lynch letter. He says you get a stubborn ass mule that's there to be used and cannot even reproduce. And even if you think about what's been happening with us as society, look at the fact that we even got to a place to where now we're not even producing children like that. How you doing, Sister Judah? How you doing, Sister Joy? Right? I'm just saying, right? We become seedless. We're eating seedless stuff, all types of stuff. But we got into a place to where, we want less babies, right? It's, you go back. I mean, I won't say one generation anymore, but you go back to your grandparents. It's not uncommon that your grandparents had and came from families of 12, 15 babies. How you doing, Sister Akita? See, it's a new thing where we're not even concerned about, but we're worried about what is a mule? You think about the mule carrying things, the mule packs. The mule is more subservient than the donkey is, right? The donkey is going to be the parent of the mule, but at the same time, the donkey is literally a stubborn jackass. Is literally a stubborn ass, right? So you don't, but there's certain things in the mule that they'll just be subservient in. The stallion, or even the mare, the horse, is very majestic and doesn't take certain things, and you have to, scares easy, will kick you if you come from the wrong perspective. The mule can be more tame, created specifically to do a work, right? I'm sorry, am I buffering on everybody for TikTok? You said your sister has 9 children. Praise Yah, right? That used to be a normalcy. I'm not saying sisters need to lay down and have a bunch of children. I'm just saying, and I'm that used to be a common thing. Okay, thank you, Brother Craig. But back to what I'm saying, right? So when Zora says that we have our sisters are used as mules, right? This is written, by the way, this was written in a book by her in 1937. We're talking about World War II, y'all. We're talking about going back to World War II. She's saying that the black woman's experience of World War II is to be the mule. This is right. This is before all women were in the workforce. How you doing, Miss Reed? So we got to make this clear. We had this thing. No. This was before we can do it. And the white woman with the little do-rag on, or whatever she was wearing, whatever you call it, right? This is before that. This is when white women didn't work and black women did all the jobs, and they made sure that white women didn't even have to suckle their own children when black women were still breastfeeding the child, their white children. Matter of fact, if you know who Skip Bayless is, if you know about sports, Skip Bayless, who talks about how poor and how he came from the bottom. And look, apparently he didn't grow up in the best of places. He had drunk parents and all this stuff. And his parents used to yell and fight and fuss and all this, right? Which obviously is not great to live in, and just because you have a lot of money. But Skip Bayless, if you listen to him, he'll try to make it be like he came from some random place and he comprehends racism better than everybody else because of his love for black people. But then he'll start talking about this woman who worked for the family and took him to black church, and he loved black church, and she loved him, and she would call him her baby, not realizing that that's because black women were the mules, not only for their own, but for yours, and sometimes would treat you better than their own because you were you were the meal ticket for their children. So you could even be breastfed off of this woman. And she might take you to church. And when she took you to church, her taking her white baby to church was something that made the black congregation say, wow, look at her. She's really doing things. You know? They were using goat milk, sure. Right. But I'm just saying. So when we think that this stuff is so far gone and nobody is close to it. And the reality is that this woman, this Israelite woman, this black woman, this native woman, this Negro, et cetera, whatever we want to use tonight, she was somebody who is the mule. And this was a black woman telling you that she felt like she was the mule. Right? So when you listen to Skip Bayless say all that stuff, he had a mammy. He won't come out and say it. but he was raised in Oklahoma, right? With two parents. The parents owned a restaurant. Both parents were drunks, fought all the time. He had a brother that ended up going into cuisine and ended up being, able to make money as a chef and have his own restaurant and stuff. Skip Bayless went another route and became who he became, both coming out of a family while he's meanwhile hitting you with the started from the bottom. Now we hear trash. And the reality is now when you see Skip Bayless, what is he always got a chain on? He got to have Little Wayne on. He got to make sure he's using us to do certain things, right? He even had a black woman who he didn't like the fact that she was talking, Joy. She ends up going on another show on FS1, whatever it's called, Speak Now, or whatever, when they got rid of the black dude, Marcellus Wiley, and put her in there because she was, she was black enough. You know what I'm saying? No shade to her, but that's she probably knows what's up. Like why she probably wouldn't like me saying that, but she's a mule. They have to push an agenda to keep certain things going, right? And they got, but you continue to look at the stuff. Skip Bayless, he had Stephen A. Smith, and before he had Stephen A. Smith, he might have a Rob Parker on there to look like he was a dumb black dude on there or whatever that didn't really have anything and couldn't hold a candle to him. And a lot of persons don't know that before all that happened, and before you even had persons like Woody Page, and for some of you got to really be in the sports to know what I'm talking about now, you had persons like Michael Wilbon. And a lot of persons might know that way before Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser had this show on ESPN that's still on today called PTI that's been on for 20-something years, whatever. Before that, Michael Wilbon used to go against Skip Bayless. You may not have any clue about that, right? But whenever you need to get stuff done, you use black persons as mules. But especially tonight, I want to lock in and talk about our sisters. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? If you want somebody to vote, not just for Kamala, y'all got to twist it. When you want somebody to vote for Trump, who do they put out in front of you? I don't even remember their names. Some of you will remember their names. Some of you might recall their names. I don't even recall their names. Y'all remember the two sisters they put out in front of Donald Trump? Had them going around the country, talking how great he was, and they had their jazz hands out. Those were mules. You're not going to get Trump voted in unless you have, because the mammy character is satisfying. The mammy character is somebody that you got to be. You had a mule recently. What's her face? The one that used to be with Kanye back in the day or whatever. Used to have threesomes with Kanye and Kim Kardashian when Kanye was still going with her when she was bald-headed or had the baldish look or whatever. Amber Rose. Amber Rose came out. Yeah, you got to bring the mule. You got to bring the mule. You can't just have persons out here doing whatever. They have to have one of our women out. This is not me saying all white people are evil. I'm trying to give you a formula. I'm just trying to make it be known. There's a formula to this. You got to have the mule. You have to have the matriarch. We talk about stuff, Uncle Tom and all that stuff, and really would have been Sambo, and Sambo would have been given the long top hat, and he would have had the robe in it, or the coat with the tails. But don't forget, there had to be a mammy. There had to be a matriarch that would breastfeed Master's babies and make sure they were full before she would breastfeed her own babies. If you don't have that, that's a big part of the slaves falling in line. Because if our matriarch, if grandmama, if Medea, see, this is why even a Tyler Perry character, I don't think guys person see it. That character is not just dangerous because it's a man dressing like a woman. That character that he's portraying, as much as it's trying to be they tough and this and whatever, no, the Medeas a lot of times said, be like the white man, be like Massa. Make sure you go to Massa school, right? And I'm not, see, it's a touchy subject. I get it, right? I get why some persons get frustrated when we go here, right? But this is real talk. Like, a lot of you had grandmamas, or maybe I can't say a lot of you, many of us had grandmothers, and which our grandmother felt like she was a success if we went through the white man's system. If you got a baccalaureate degree, if you got that master's, if you got that doctorate, if you graduated high school, grandmamas didn't graduate from high school. Some grandmamas didn't. Some grandmamas couldn't read or write. And especially when you didn't have granddaddy who lived as long as grandmama. A lot of granddaddies didn't live as long as grandmama. So grandmama was usually the matriarch. And so grandmama could see you cross the stage. It was a huge deal. That's one of the reasons why crossing the stage is a huge deal for us as far as high school. Other cultures, they expect it. But it's a really huge deal for us because that used to be a big deal because grandmama wasn't allowed. She had a slave mentality. But we came out of our mindset altogether. Now we just said, well, we only want to be like master. We don't even want to be like where grandmama came from. You said get accepted by them, but won't save us. Yeah, and this is a huge deal. So even in that sense, like Willie Lynch said, he literally said we have reversed nature. It's intended for you after 400 years. We should believe them. Yeah, right. Hear what I'm saying? Willie Lynch said we literally reversed their nature to where the mother raises her children in reverse to survive, and she will eat out of Master's hand, and whatever Master says do, she will do it. Would you say yes, so we could move family forward with this within the system, right? Because a lot of persons only believe that the only way you can make it out of the system is to do it from within the system. I want you to think about that now. The only way that we're going to make it out of the wicked things the system has done to us is to infiltrate the system and make the system what it always was supposed to be. But the system is what it's always has supposed to have been, which is something that causes you to be in the position that you are in. However, we have a belief that there's no other way out. Look, you've been taught this since you were little, right? Solomon experienced school in a sense. He didn't go to school, but he went to summer camp today. First time being in a school, like your typical school atmosphere, right? And he did not like it. He's gonna go back tomorrow. And he's gonna try again. And there's some things or whatever that he's got to learn, unfortunately, that he shouldn't have to learn. But he wants to experience the summer thing, and that hey, let's let you see. He's gonna see why he doesn't want it anymore. But let's let you go through the experience, right? Sometimes you need your children to see some things. They want to see this thing. Okay, I'll be the father on the porch or whatever, and I'll be looking at it. I won't give you all the business, but he didn't necessarily like today. It wasn't a great day for him. Wasn't his greatest days. Wasn't something horrible, but wasn't his greatest days because he found out what little children are like nowadays. And he's used to children being vetted and his parents being protective, and us not. We were around. I showed you we were in the building. We was in the building. We're gonna be there again yesterday, but he got to go through some things by himself, right? But we don't realize, we don't think about some of these things. Amen, Sister Keita. He needs to see, but and going through some of those things, we have this mindset that it's the only way we can make it. And if we don't do it this way, how else can we be? And when you're separated from it and this is one of the reasons why we need to separate from the world. It's because when we separate from it long enough, now you start looking and you're like, oh, I don't like this. Like there was a time to where I would have, hey, how you doing, Bruda? There was a time that I would have loved to have, I would have told you it was so great the stuff that was happening to him, and he better buck up, and he just needs to fall in line with the teaching, blah blah. But you come out the system long enough, and you put him in, and he starts telling you things, and you're like, oh, everything's a red flag, right? But that system teaches you. See, you think that the system is your only alternative because it's the only thing that you know. Some of your parents started teaching you things when you were 1 year old, not because it was even necessary to your education. They began to teach you some of these things when you were 1 years of age because they needed you to try and get into the best preschool and hopefully get into a better elementary school and keep going down the road so that maybe one day you would get in debt in your college and be able to get a better job that keeps you enslaved because you're always in debt. And so we'll look at our lives and say, I'm so glad that I got all these opportunities, but you're enslaved, you're in debt. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm trying to open our eyes. And one of the things that we don't even recognize is think about what our sisters, look, okay, This is obviously not every woman has the same exact experience. Not every person of color does. Not every black woman does. Not every Israelite does. Not every woman, period, has the same amount, same stuff they go through, right? However, let's just look at something. Some of this might sound familiar to some of you. When you were a little girl, it was already decided that you were supposed to go to school and not have an attitude. You a little child, but you better not have an attitude. Hear me now. Why is it that you shouldn't have an attitude, little girl? Let's talk to the little girl in you tonight. Why is it you're going to be trained to be a mule? Once again, a mule is not supposed to be there. A mule is only there because her parents are put in a position to where they can't even be with their own, or cannot make sure that they take care of their own kind in the culture they should. So why is it that you're told not to have an attitude, little girl? I'm going to talk to the little girl in you. I know you're a grown woman, but I want to talk to the little girl in you tonight, if that's okay. Let's have a conversation, because sometimes we leave her to the side, or some of you, she never got developed, and now you're having some issues because she never got developed, and you're crying some tears in that because she never got developed, and you don't really know how to appreciate any kind of relationship, forget just with a man or anything like that, but with just relationship in general, because she was never protected, she was never developed, right? But guess why? If you need to close your eyes, and look, trigger warning, I'm not trying to have nobody cry, but let's just be honest. We're going to go a little deep tonight. And by the way, if you're not a little black girl, still close your eyes, because some of this stuff will still sound familiar, okay? Right? But if you need to close your eyes, if you need to think back, and I'm not even a little girl, I'm going off of what you guys have taught me, all right? So if I'm repeating. I can empathize, but I can't act like I went through it. I can empathize to a certain degree. But watch this. Why did you remember why you had to be quiet, or why you always had to have no attitude? Why you always had to be smiling? And you didn't like it back then. You definitely don't like it now when people say just smile. But there's a reason why you don't like it now. You don't like it now for the same reason you didn't like it back then. Think about it. Why is it that you had to smile, little girl? Baby girl, why you always have to smile? Why you always have to be a lady, and being a lady meant that you always had to smile? You always had to act like everything was okay. And you didn't even have a chance to go ahead and be a little girl. Why were you called a young lady when you were 4 or 5 years old? Why do we need to smile? This might not be everybody's experience, but for those that it is, why was that your experience? Why do you think that was? Why do you think we do that to the little girl and still try to do it to the grown woman? And some grown women just get to a point where they're like, F this, I'm done with all that. Why do you think that is? Any comment? You waiting on me to say something? If you think that I'm dead wrong, if you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, you can say that too. Right, well, why do you think that is? You said you thought you people were crazy because smiling all the time. Okay, to mold her, for them to accept us when they know they won't, for control. Yeah. Okay. One of the big reasons you had to smile is why, once again, you're a mule. Your responsibility is to eat out of the hand of Master and grow into somebody who's going to teach the rest of us how to do the same, or how to be okay with it. Okay, watch this. Let's cattle, because we're talking about chattel slavery. We can talk about a mule. We can talk about a horse, whatever, right? Let's say a cow. Cow gives birth to a calf. The cow doesn't necessarily bring the calf right up to the master. Remember, this was chattel slavery. You were treated like chattel, not like who you were supposed to be. You were trained to be chattel, trained to be slaves. So the chattel, right? So the cattle has the baby. Eventually, the baby seems like it's strong enough. Whatever, the cattle, if it has a great relationship with the farmer, with the owner, with the master, with the owner, right, takes the calf up to the owner. and will stand in between the owner and the calf. But then eventually she will put her body a certain way, and that lets the calf know it's okay to come to the master. And before she lets the calf come to the master, she will usually do something to indicate that it's okay to even eat out of the master's hand. And then she puts her body in position, and then the calf comes. And every mother has that responsibility. Every heifer, I'm not trying to call you a heifer, but that's what a female cow is, right? Every heifer who has just had offspring is supposed to make sure they do the same. And the owner is trying their best to have a relationship, might be nice, might be all this stuff, but the real reason why they even got the calves pregnant is why? Because the heifer is pregnant. Why? Is because the heifer is going to provide something that makes them money and provides them food. And the heifer is going to teach the next generation now to, while they're still eating off of their mother, is going to teach them that it's okay to do whatever the person says. Because if this person feeds you, then this person, see, watch this. Your mother, and we can we make it not so mystical that it's not practical? I know there's spirituality and all this stuff, but let's be honest. One of the reasons why your baby is going to foster an excellent relationship with you is because you can feed your baby from your breast. And if you feed your baby recognizes that you can nurture your baby. If you can feed your baby recognizes you can heal your baby, because the milk in your body not only changes viscosity, but also will change what it's giving and what it's giving out, specifically depending on what the baby needs, even if the baby gets sick. Whatever you feed the baby, right, or whatever baby, whoever feeds the baby becomes somebody that the baby looks up to. All right. So that being said, the heifer was taught to not depend on the bull. The stallion, the mare was taught not to depend on the stallion, right? The black woman was taught not to depend on her husband. And if master's hand is what feeds her to nourish her so that she even has enough energy, strength to not only keep working for him, and making him the money, but also make sure that her baby can suckle off of her, that she wants, in essence, she's trying to teach the baby that at some point you won't be able to nurse off me, but you can always nurse off master. And they try to, right, whenever you're going to talk about this stuff, the black woman is going to be the mule. You must recognize, even if we're talking about it in a positive fashion. I know some persons are like, positive? You didn't seem like you've hit anything positive at all. Even if we're going to talk about it in a positive fashion, you must recognize. Now, I'm going to say this. This will probably be, it won't be the last thing per se that I say, but this will probably be the last big idea that we're using, right? And then we'll focus more on our sisters tomorrow and let Holy Ghost have her way, right? But peep game. Peep game. You ready? All right. The most educated woman, I know we can talk about Israelite, Negro, all this, just roll with me. The most educated woman on the planet is who? The most educated woman on the planet is the black woman. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm not telling you from an Afrocentric perspective. I'm talking about if you were to go to the whitest statisticians and look at their statistics and look at their quantitative and qualitative data, the most educated woman on the planet is the black woman. Right? Now, it's important that you catch that, because that means, matter of fact, I said it wrong. I said the most educated woman on the planet. I should have said the most educated person on the planet. Forgive me, sisters. I was wrong. The most educated person on the planet is the black woman. Look at whatever statistical data you need. Look at whatever graphs you need. The most educated person on the planet is the black woman. I say that to help you to recognize that, therefore, whatever she's educated in is whatever you'll be educated in. Somebody caught it, right? But just in case it went over here, the most educated person on the planet is the black woman. Therefore, whatever she's educated in is what you'll be educated in. right? So if she's indoctrinated, that's still education, right? If she's got master's and doctorate degrees in their stuff but doesn't even know her own language, that's still education. She can become Candace Owens. Candace Owens, you can say whatever you want about Candace Owens. You cannot say she's not educated. You can say Candace Owens is on some stuff. You can say she's ignorant. You can say she chose her side. You can say she's money hungry, whatever. But you can't say that Candace Owens. Hear what I'm saying? You cannot say that Candace Owens is uneducated. Matter of fact, this is how it works in the black family, unfortunately, on average. Black boys don't concern themselves with education. They concern themselves with sports, being stronger, this and that. And maybe when they get older, maybe they'll, as the world would say, maybe they'll luck their way into a job. But every sister, every little girl from when she's young, the same girl that's told she can't smile and this and that or whatever, she better be educated. And she better know the difference between this and that. And she better know if something happens, what stays in this house stays, what happens in this house stays in this house. And she better know how to do what mom does, because when her older brothers aren't even doing what they're supposed to do, mom, when she gets tired, she's not going to tell the older brothers. She could have 5 older brothers. She could be the 6th oldest. Guess what? If she's 9 years old and her oldest brother is 18, she's going to step in place of mom. She's going to run the house while the older brother's running around the streets. Very educated. So educated, in fact, that most of the drug dealers that you know, especially from our community, there's not a brother that was a drug dealer out here. Hear what I'm saying? There's not a brother that's a drug dealer out here who didn't have to have a woman that was making sure his stuff was straight. She's so educated that she knows that she's the reason you go to jail or you don't. Mess around with her if you want. She'll make sure that the police all of a sudden know everything about you. Knows where every last dollar is that you have. I'm telling you, I've seen this stuff in the street. Like, you'll see cats and they go into prison, this and that or whatever, and it's baby mama that's been down with them, knowing that he got a bunch of them all around the city, but she's so down, and she knows her role is supposed to protect him, even when he won't protect her. Right? That's out of order. She's supposed to be protected, but she knows she's supposed to protect his interest now, even though he put himself in a position where he can't protect her at all. It will make sure that the money that's necessary gets to the lawyer. She'll make sure that he's got nice clothes on and everything still. She'll make sure she comes to visit him. She'll make sure that his spot is clean. She'll make sure that she's talking to the lawyer outside the case. She's the mule. You guys know when it comes to even how they run drugs, they have drug mules. What are drug mules? Drug mules are the ones that you send out on assignment. If they get arrested, they're not supposed to make sure anything get back to you. She can be a helper. She can bring hell. Yeah. Right. I'm just trying to tell you, the most educated woman. And if we ever recognize that, we make sure that she was not only the most educated, or person rather, she's the most educated person. If we recognize that the black woman is the most educated person on the planet, you know what we would also do? We would make sure she was the most protected. And we would only want to feed her things that educate her in the spiritual matters that ensure that the kingdom of heaven shall rise and that Israel shall be in her proper place. If we really knew what we had. Hallelujah. If we really knew how educated she was. My wife tries to say simple things to me and doesn't realize that I'm too simple to understand what she's saying. She be trying to give me the simple stuff. Like, Kofi, just look at this, blah, blah. What you think? And she thinks that she said 2 sentences and she's speaking pre-calculus to me. I don't know what she's talking about. Look, I comprehend that wisdom is a she. I ain't got no problem with it. I'm still gonna protect, I still teach, I still love. But that sister is educated. Amen, Minister Tamara. Yeah, that sister is educated. And we don't, and watch this, even the sisters don't teach to be educated. The sisters don't teach their sons to protect them and realize that they should protect those who educate. You know, in our culture, if daddy's not there, then who's up next? This is when I do talk about a lot about mama's boys, this and that. But guess what? At some point, he got to become. This is why he got to come in line with some real daddies out here and have a father figure, even have a spiritual father. Because at some point, he gonna have to come in alignment with some stuff where he gonna have to step in. If mama ain't married, if mama's not protected, then he needs to learn. Now he got to take his time. They'll be sitting up there talking about he a 5-year-old man at the house, he a 14-year-old man at the house. But at some point, we have to teach him. We, not just you, we should teach this boy what it is to be the protector and secure and what it looks like. Once again, if our sisters are the most educated, now the question is who educates them? It's not enough that she's the most educated. That's the beginning of it. Okay, now we see she's the most educated. Cool. Now, what are we going to do with that? Right? Who's educating her? See, when I say she's the most educated, that doesn't mean somebody's not teaching her. Now, the question is who's teaching her? Because whoever's teaching her, they're using her to teach your family. Who's teaching her to be afraid of the beast? Who's teaching her run back to the beast? Whoever's teaching her, that's who you should be afraid. See, the power that you have, brother, is that she's the most educated and she wants to become the most educated. That's her position in the community. Cool. So if she's going to be the most educated, then educate her in the things of Yah and educate her on what it is to be somebody who can uphold your position, or not uphold, but you get what I'm saying, uphold you, support you. But watch this. Then she has to be protected and she has to be given affection. She has to be nurtured so that she can be the nurturer while giving out the education. Now you have sisters that give out education without nurturing, which means that it's not true education because the sister's a nurturer before she's even an educator. Matter of fact, the way a sister nurtures is she educates. But if she educates without nurturing, she's just yelling at you at that point. Somebody caught that. I don't even know if I can repeat that if I wanted to. That's a Holy Ghost special right there. Right? You gotta recognize, like, fine, if she's educated, you don't like what she's educated in, whose responsibility is that? And when she gets that education, who's supposed to protect her? And who's supposed to make sure that when she does what we say or whatever, because if that's your thing, she got to do whatever you say, fine. When she does whatever you say, who's going to reward her for that? Because the world will reward her for doing the foolish things. That is supposed to be the foolish things of this world that confound the wise. So if she goes out there and she gonna act a fool for you, then she's got to be rewarded in a place to where everybody sees she's actually wise. You know, the only reason why you think that Oprah Winfrey is wise because she's been rewarded. You know the only reason why you think Bill Gates is wise because he's been rewarded. You know the only reason why you think that what's his face y'all thought that Steve Harvey was really wise because he was rewarded, got movies and stuff, got books, got a beautiful wife. You call it what it is. I mean, she's dastardly, but she's beautiful, right? That's a lot of y'all would want Steve Harvey's wife if you had a chance, right? But he was rewarded. You know the reason why you think Cat Williams is wise because he's been rewarded. I'm not saying they didn't put any hard work in. Hear what I'm saying? They got a reward, right? And it's the reward that makes everybody say they must be wise. We don't have. I've talked about this plenty of times. For our brothers and sisters in our community, we don't really have rewards. We don't really do, like, we just go, oh, you should. That's what you're supposed to do. And persons don't like it when I hear this, but hear me, bro. Hear me, sis. Like, you're right. For those who go, a husband should just, when I say a husband should be home, and if your husband's home, you should be thankful and grateful. And you go, why should I be thankful, grateful, that, this and that? I get that. I get that part of the conversation. That being said, I would say be grateful. I didn't say that's the end all be all, but be grateful. Your husband should pay for every meal that you have. Okay, cool. You go out every time you go out, he can pay for every meal. Cool. But when he pays for it, why not say thank you? Your wife, she could make food for you all day. If she makes 3 meals for you in a day, great. Can't you say thank you 3 times? Some of you are cavemen. You walk in the room. I come home from work. Where's food? Eat food. Okay, bend over. Bam. Right? That's what y'all be like. Some of y'all just cavemen. I come in. Bam, bend over. Bam. Okay, I go to sleep. I snore. Make me sandwich. That's what some of y'all are, right? And no gratefulness, no being thankful, no what can I do throughout the day to make sure that you're happy, that you're actually in the mood. Heck, she might not even be in the mood because she knows she got 17 chores that she still hasn't gotten done yet, that she needs to get done, or else you're gonna say something about it in the next 1 or 2 days. And that she still sacrifices and said, let me go ahead and lay down. And even though I'm not gonna get anything out of this, let me make sure that he gets something out of it. And we don't even say thank you. See what I'm saying? Like, so what are we educating her in when she starts doing this stuff? I know pastors ain't supposed to speak like this. I'm just saying. This is how we've been taught. And because she's a mule, but if she's the mule, and really we don't want her to be the mule. We obviously want her to be the helpmeet, the Aishah, the heiress, the divine, feminine, beautiful creation that she is, right? I'm just saying she moves things in the community. And if she moves things in the community, everything's gonna be moving around that. Like, you set the environment, you keep the house, you do all this stuff. But guess what? The education's gonna come from her. Watch this. The first person to educate your baby about anger is your wife. You know when it happens? It happens when that baby sees flashes of anger in the womb. If she's angry, the baby's learning what that is. Your baby learns hunger when he says, "Oh, mom's hungry." Your baby learns your voice when he hears it by being connected to mom. And when mom hears your voice and gets excited, the baby gets excited and realizes whoever's voice this is, I should be excited when I hear it. This is why your baby can hear your voice and start kicking. You don't even think about it. It's because something in mom has taught the baby enough that whenever she see, even when you're like her hormones out of control, something, even in all that, something inside of mama flutters every time that daddy is home, that daddy says something, when daddy touches her, when daddy kisses, when dad puts his ear next to the belly, all these things, something in her, even if she's got an attitude, even if she got that stank face that we say we hate, something because of her makes the baby say, "Oh, I should be excited about this Negro. I don't know who he is yet. I know something about us is similar. I get that. I can't really smell him yet. She smells him and all this stuff. I don't even know who this cat is like that, but I know whenever he's around, something goes on. Oxytocin transfers, like a covenant of oxytocin almost, right? She's the first educator. She's the first one to teach your baby how to laugh. This happens inside the womb. She teaches your baby etiquette inside the womb. Baby kicks, does this or whatever. Mom reacts. Baby says, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to do that." Right? Right? Like, these are things that are happening. She's the educator, and you must protect her. We're gonna go deeper in this tomorrow. Praise y'all. But prayerfully, that kind of fixes some of the stuff I was talking about. We might post some more stuff on this, but this is. I'm gonna say a little bit of the beginning of the paragraph that we read on this. This is from Zora Neale Hurston, and in 1937, and I'm going to read the end of this paragraph. But this is from a book she wrote. I'm just quoting the book. It's called "Their Eyes Were Watching God." I see you, Bruda. Right? She said, "I began to grapple with the imagery of the statement elicited." What is this statement that she's talking about? The statement again is Black women are the mules of the earth. So this is what the author of that said. She said, "I began to grapple with the imagery that statement elicited, whether I should interpret it as praise for our strength or a derogating description that is symbolic of victimization and bondage." And I'm going to skip down towards the end. It says, based in popular culture, the Black female iconography has been the saviors, cooks, cleaners, caretakers of their children and other people's children, the ones responsible for making things better that we didn't mess up in the first place, the sex objects, superheroes, the magical Negro, the ones that are everything to everyone while operating under a public gaze that has constructed the superhuman stereotype without being conscious of it. Our culture's imagination is eager to distort Black women and dehumanize them. It says us, but I'm not one of you. So, yeah, she's the most educated, but also goes through a lot because she's the most educated, but she has to walk in cognitive dissonance. She is the most educated, but she has to dumb herself down so she can go out on a date with us and we can think that she's not over talking us or something. Brothers, I'm trying to give you the formula. Like y'all, some brothers be thinking I'm a what you call me, a simp or whatever. I'm trying to give you the formula, bro. Like we just like we like to be heard. I'm telling you, hear her in that, empathize with her in that, give her that much. You'd be surprised if you just gave her that. Even if you couldn't comprehend it yet, if you could just give her that, even if you couldn't empathize yet, even if you cannot sympathize yet, if you could just say, dang, that's tough. A lot of sisters with like all this attitude, what you think is just straight attitude, and sometimes it is, right? I ain't gonna hold you. But if you gave her that, I'll watch some of that stuff vanish. Like, oh, okay, you gonna act out in that way because, matter of fact, you got to act out in that way sometimes because you got to act out in that way to protect me sometimes. That's a whole nother thing. We don't even be thinking about that. How many times she be acting a certain way? I can't tell. Like some of y'all, it depends on where you come from. I've seen sisters act out on police officers to make sure that their man can make it out the back door and run around the corner. You know what I'm saying? But then later on, we don't want to hear the attitude when she mad at you because she had to act out at the police officers and almost ended up in jail because she was trying to make sure that you got out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's layers to it. I get it, right? This is a short conversation tonight. But prayerfully, sisters, I hope that I did a little bit of justice. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit more on like a TikTok post. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit more on Patreon. Who knows? But I just felt led. I kind of try to stay away from this, to be honest with you. I didn't want to talk about it. But Holy Ghost kept saying, talk about it. So we talked about it. You know. So hopefully you got what you needed out of it. That kind of be a launching pad for us tomorrow as we get ready to go and continue with our Rainbow series, where we're kind of being led by Holy Ghost, and we're kind of going through brothers and sisters. And, we talked about what should a man do? What should a kingdom husband be ready for when he's going to look for a wife and finds a wife. So we're going to kind of do vice versa tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Amen. All right. But thank y'all. I appreciate you. Pray for me. I'm gonna be on the road a little bit this evening. I still got to do a bunch of orders for these shirts and stuff I'm working on. I showed some of you guys from the Northeast region how jacked up my room is. It's just filled with basically just shirts, clothes, plastic bags, dyes, everything. I have like zero space. I can't see the floor. But we getting ready to get these orders out this week so everybody can have them ready for next week if you haven't already got yours already. And we thank you guys. We appreciate you. We honor you. So we thank you. Get ready for VBS next week. This is the first Friday of the month coming up, so be ready to bless somebody on this Friday for our community day. This is the first Thursday of the month coming up, so ministerial staff, we're going to have a meeting. I'm asking for us to meet at 6 p.m. Eastern New York time on Thursday instead of our normal 6:30, so if you can give us 30 extra minutes. And much love and respect to each and every one of you. Thank you again, Northeast region. And somebody, please give me that reminder I was asking about so we can make sure that we get these text trains going and start growing together in y'all. Thank you all. Appreciate you. And prayerfully got something out of tonight. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're so thankful and grateful for you guys checking her out, checking us out, being part of this community. Remember, for us, it's not just virtual, it's reality. So take care, appreciate love, all that great stuff. We thank you again. And as always, this is Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom. Peace.